Welcome to Echoes from the Heart, the weekly homily podcast from Immaculate Heart of Mary Parish in Wayne, New Jersey. Each episode offers a moment of reflection, a word of hope, and a chance to let the gospel speak to your life. Thank you for praying with us today.
A garbage truck driver in Boston once picked up what looked like nothing more than a discarded paper cup, the kind most of us would pass by without a second thought. Yet when he peeled back the sticker, it revealed a prize worth $200,000. It was, quite literally, a treasure drawn out of the trash. That image stays with you because it captures something unsettling and beautiful at the same time, and in a strange way, it brings us directly into the mystery of Good Friday. Because what we are about to look at, what we are invited not to turn away from today, appears at first glance to be nothing more than a place of failure, rejection, and ruin. And yet, it is precisely there that we discover the greatest treasure of all. St. John, in his account of the Passion, does not dwell on dramatic detail. He does not describe every blow or every wound. Instead, he writes with a kind of stark simplicity, "They took Jesus, and they crucified him." There is something almost unsettling in that restraint, because everyone in that world already knew what crucifixion meant. It was public, humiliating, and deliberately cruel. It was meant to break a person, not only physically, but also socially and emotionally. It stripped a person of dignity in front of everyone. This is not the cross we are used to seeing, polished and reverent, hanging quietly in our churches. The real cross was a place people avoided. A spectacle that drew crowds not out of devotion, but out of curiosity, mockery, or even entertainment. And yet today, rather than turning away, the Church asks us to come closer, to stand still, and to look. When we do, the first thing we encounter is the reality of shame. Jesus is exposed, mocked, and reduced in the eyes of the crowd. The insults hurled at him carry a bitter irony. You saved others, save yourself. What they do not understand, and what we are only beginning to grasp, is that he is saving others precisely by refusing to save himself. This is not weakness, it is a different kind of strength, one that does not assert itself by escaping suffering, but by entering it fully. The cross reveals something about God that is not easy to accept. God does not remain distant from human pain, nor does he intervene in a way that simply removes it. Instead, he steps directly into the deepest places of human brokenness, into rejection, into humiliation, into the kind of suffering we would rather hide or avoid. He does not observe it from afar. He takes it upon himself, and the suffering itself is not symbolic or abstract. Crucifixion was a brutal, physical reality. It was slow, exhausting, and agonizing. The body was stretched, pierced, and left to struggle for every breath. There is nothing poetic about it when you consider what it truly involved. And yet, this is where we find God. That alone changes how we understand suffering. It does not make it easy, and it does not explain everything, but it means that suffering is no longer a place where God is absent. It becomes, mysteriously, a place where He is most present. Still, if we stop there, Good Friday remains unbearable. The cross would simply be a story of injustice and tragedy. But the gospel insists that something more is happening here, something that can only be understood in the language of love. There is a story of a young girl who, when a car stalled on railroad tracks with her siblings inside, managed to pull each one of them out to safety. She went back one last time for her mother, and in that moment the train struck. She saved them all, but lost her own life in the process. It is a story that stays with you because it reveals a love that does not calculate, that does not hesitate when someone else is in danger. That is what we see on the cross, but on a scale far beyond one family or one moment. Christ places himself in the path of what would destroy us, and he does so willingly. What looks like defeat is, in fact, a deliberate act of self-giving. He is not overpowered, he is offering himself. If we want to understand what God is like, we have to begin here, not with abstract ideas or distant images, but with this moment. The cross reveals a God who does not withdraw when things become difficult, who does not love only when it is convenient, but who remains faithful all the way to the end. It is also striking that, as this unfolds, many people walk away. The scene becomes too heavy, too uncomfortable, but a few remain: Mary, John, and a small group who do not fully understand what is happening, yet refuse to leave. That, perhaps, is the quiet invitation of Good Friday. Not that we fully comprehend everything we see, but that we stay. That we resist the instinct to turn away and instead allow ourselves to stand in the presence of this mystery, because something happens when we do. What appears to be only shame begins to reveal a deeper glory. What looks like suffering begins to open into healing. What seems like the end becomes, in a way we cannot yet fully see, the beginning of something new. That is why the Church brings us here today, not to explain everything, and not to soften what is difficult, but to place us at the foot of the cross and allow us to see it as it truly is. What looked like a discarded life becomes the place where everything is restored. What seemed like loss becomes the place of victory. What appeared to be the end becomes, quietly and powerfully, the source of life. And so we remain, not because it is easy, but because it is here that we discover the love that saves us.
Thank you for listening to Echoes from the Heart. If this reflection blessed you, consider sharing it with someone who might need a word of hope today. For Mass times, parish events, and upcoming programs, visit ihmwayneandj.org. God bless you, and may your week be filled with peace and grace.